Well, thank you all for coming to see us. Another episode of Lotus Living with Shar. I am your host, Shar Andrews. And today I have two special guests of mine, two individuals who are very close to my heart. So, not to belabor it, we're going to go right into the first segment, which is Talk Your Shit. Because nobody can introduce you better than you can introduce you. I can't introduce you. I can tell people your name, but you tell people best who you are. So let's tell everybody, introduce yourself and, talk your shit. You want to go first? You want to talk your shit first, Wes?
I don't really talk shit, but I'm Wesley G. Harris III. I got to use my whole name because it was given to me. So I was told that if I don't use it, it's a problem. So the third, put name of respect on that. Licensed professional counselor here in Pennsylvania. A lot of jobs. One job I worked for Philadelphia School District, supervised therapist there, clinical coordinator at Blackman Hill, and then I got my own private practice on the side. Specialize in treatment of PTSD and trauma symptoms. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome.
Okay, so I am Akiva Harris, the first.
Wait! You know what? Yes.
Licensed, no relation, but we do say that we are related because we both are Harrises. Licensed professional counselor, owner of Beyond Limits Mental Health and Wellness, private practice located in Wyncote, Pennsylvania, specializing in adults with, toxic shame, overachievers, all that type stuff, trying to help them to get to learn how to be gentle with themselves first and foremost, because that's probably what they need the most. Also, clinical coordinator, Blackman Hill, supervisor, and mom of two.
Yes. Well, first of all, what she just read in my life just now, because her specialty is overachievers. Let me not. She not talking about me right now. But let me just say, every therapist should have a therapist. I do have one. However, I can always use another. It's you can never have too many supports in place. Point blank period. So we have to have a discussion.
But that's a whole nother discussion.
That's a whole nother discussion. We're not going to talk. That's not Lotus Living today. This is light. However, we will have to have another discussion. Okay, well, thank you. First of all, of course, since Akiva and Wes, mentioned that they are the clinical coordinators for Blackman Hill. Of course, I work with them at Blackman Hill. For those of you who don't know, I am the clinical director at Blackman Hill. However, me and Wes go back before I was ever a therapist, and I believe before he was ever a therapist. Really? When we were in the trenches of mental health, I met Wes when I was working for the public defender's office in the mental health unit, and he had clients of mine that were receiving services at the consortium. Mm-hmm. And he was, were you a forensic case manager or just a forensic case manager at the consortium? And that is how we connected. Mm-hmm. And then lo and behold, mind you, I didn't put two and two together. I did his interview, and I'm just doing the interview normal. Pops up on the screen. I'm like, oh, what did you? So, yes.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
And you know that ultimately, like, as a helping professional, especially for therapists, the world is big, but it's like really so small. Mm-hmm. Our industry is small. At this point, there's never been a time that I didn't go somewhere and know somebody for something. Real quick, funny story in regards to knowing somebody in regards to Blackman Hill. So I went to this ecotherapy training, and there was someone there. Shout out to Donetta Watson. Her name is Donetta. She is also in LPC, and she was sitting next to me in the training, and she kept saying like, you really look familiar. And I'm like, well, a lot of people say that. For whatever reason, I have a familiar face. I get that everywhere I go, somebody says, don't I know you from somewhere? I'm like, no, I just think I have a familiar face. I don't know. Maybe it'll come to you. So we go through the whole training, and at the end she said Blackman Hill, and I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, I do work there and everything, and she was like, she went to an event that Blackman Hill hosted from cohort 1.
Wow.
So we talking 2018. I'm like, oh wow. She was like, I got your card and everything. The moment you said Journey to Lotus, I was like, oh my God, that's where I know her from. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm around, guys. I've been in this game. I've been in this game a minute. I don't put my time in.
Lots of hats.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm learning in 2024, starting today. I'm not going to wait. But moving forward, I'm going to learn to receive my flowers because that's my problem, right? People do tend, we talk about giving people their flowers while they're living. However, sometimes I'm resistant to receiving them just because, like, for whatever reason, it makes me uncomfortable. I don't necessarily do things for accolade or praise, even though my love language is words of affirmation. I don't necessarily have to, on a one-on-one, it's different to me than like with the world. However, I'm starting to be like, thank you. I appreciate that. Because we all work extremely hard. You work hard, Wes works hard, and I think, to be a helping professional, it is a heavy job. Like we don't do this for light and fun and games. And so, we wish that was the case. However, it's not. And so, anywho, thank you so much. So Lotus Living, and I will describe, because I did make a definition for what Lotus Living is, but the idea for Lotus Living is really, for us to all kind of come together, in a very laid back kind of space, just for open conversation. And I really want to connect with people in regards to their lived experiences and how you're living your life as balanced and well as possible. I feel like I'm attempting to create an environment of community, which is lacking. It's lacking societally, but it's also lacking for Black and brown folk. And so, we all have something that we can share, an idea, a tool, or something. And so I just wanted to kind of create a space in order for us to like share that and lean in on each other and support each other and be like, oh, I ain't tried that for this, and of course, my practice is based on the 8 dimensions of wellness. And so, at times we hit all of that dimensional wellness topics. So to transition into our wellness experience segment, I like to kind of start off with that. We are approaching the end of 2023, and I cannot believe I'm saying that, but we only got a few more weeks to go. But seriously, but when you kind of reflect on your 2023, what is a wellness experience that you've had that you're really, was impactful for you? And it could be anything. It could be a goal that you accomplished, an actual experience that you had. What is something that, in 2023 was like, yeah, this was an experience for me?
What's this, December? 2 months ago, I went to go see a holistic doctor for the first time. And it was definitely impactful.
Wow.
I usually go see a DO instead of an MD because I just hate MDs.
Okay.
I'm a firm believer that an MD is only taught to prescribe medication or cut you. Right? So that those are the two options. You go see an MD, you're getting pills or you're getting cut. A DO is going to look at your whole body, but a holistic doctor, like he really looked at like my whole body, my lifestyle and everything else, and gave me like some suggestions on lifestyle changes and what to eat, different herbs, spices, vitamins that you could do, even like the type of water you drink. So like as I'm getting older, I realized I got to make some changes, otherwise I won't be on the pill factory.
Yeah.
So like we sat down and like we really looked at a lot of stuff, and to be honest, I'm a natural cynic, right? So like when he did certain tests and he was like, oh, the T2 in your back is messed up, go see a chiropractor. I was like, I don't know how you knew that because you ain't really touched my back, but like he hooked me up to this machine that does all this like different wavelengths in your body and tests different things. And so I called my chiropractor and I was like, hey, Dr. Mike, I need to see you. I go to Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike is like, yo, your T2 is off. I was like, oh, shit.
Wow.
So I was like, it might have been a little quacky, but he was on point about that.
Yes.
So I was like, I really got to take some of this stuff, a little more serious. Like he wants me to follow like an alkaline diet, which is not easy.
Yes.
It's not easy, but like his thing is like crawl before you walk. So it's like slowly but surely get to where you're supposed to go. So I'm trying to make these changes to get there.
Yes.
So that was an impactful thing that's going to be like lifelong.
Yes. And I want to come back to that, after, Akiva shares her wellness experience, because in our work with black men in physical health, there's a void there, for a lot of different reasons. And so I think, you sharing that experience, hopefully for men of color that may be watching this, it, you know, kind of motivates them like, oh, you know, okay, maybe I should go to the doctor. So I would like to talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, so we can curse, right?
Yes. That's a grown podcast.
Because I'm sitting here thinking, and my wellness experience was just literally last week. So I was like, well, what the fuck I was doing all the rest of 2023? Since it literally just happened last week.
Listen, because we still got time. It's still 2 weeks. Something can happen tomorrow. And you be like, yo, that was amazing. I should have waited till next week to come on the podcast to cheer it.
But overall, like, I know the best thing that I can do for my overall wellness is eating healthy. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's a struggle. We Black, we raised on fried this, fried that. My mother fried shit that you... Mom, why are you frying ribs? Like, I didn't even know people fried ribs.
Listen. That sound good. I ain't even gonna hold you. I ain't never had no fried ribs.
My mom fried shit that I ain't never seen nobody else fry before. But anyway, growing up eating like that, and I feel like maybe the last 20 years or so, I have tried to eat more healthily. Now, I'm not a health nut by anybody's stretch of the imagination, but I do try to be more consistent with eating healthy. So I just know that that's something, that's the number one thing that I can do for myself overall, is eat healthy. But I do yoga. But last week I went to a yoga workshop. This is Black yoga instructor named Nicole Durant. I love her. I've been practicing with her on and off for years, and she's all about the chakra system. So she had a yoga workshop, literally was just last Sunday, that was focusing on the chakra system. Like, she gave us some information and education about the chakra system, and then the flow that she had us do was all working on the chakras, like starting from the root chakra all the way up. And when I tell you, because I've been having a week, so I needed it, and like, I am a somatic person. I feel my emotions in my body, especially my anxiety. Like, when I am anxious, I feel the angst inside my body. It literally be like the inside of my body is like doing like this. And after that yoga workshop, I felt like at ease. I felt like so calm and just like so centered. Yes. In the way that I probably haven't felt all year.
Yes.
So yoga is definitely one of the things that I do for my wellness.
I love yoga. Shout out to Princess Kenny, who I'm going to have on here. That's my girl. We had yoga here at the Lotus Well Counseling Services and Wellness Retreat, and she had been leading that charge, and I was able to have a class with her. Then after that, she did trap yoga, you know, because listen, folks, there are a lot of different ways to have yoga. I love yoga. I love the openness about yoga, you know, and being a tool. You have to really open your body. Like, yoga is, as much as it's physical, it is mental. So when you're opening your body up, literally stretching, pulling at things, you also got to open your mind. And you have to be able to receive whatever the energy is in the room, whatever's happening. You have to be open to that. And I mean, yoga is absolutely amazing. I love it as well. One of the more impactful yoga experiences I've had was hot yoga.
That's what I do.
Oh my God, I love hot yoga.
Me too. I love.
Oh my goodness, and I'm just like, wow, like, to then have to be open, stretch, and sweat at the same time. Listen, that is talent.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's so good. I mean, because it's so symbolic, you know, of you sweating. It's like just releasing, literally, toxicity. Like, you're releasing the toxins in your body. You're releasing whatever emotions it is. I mean, I absolutely love it. So I'm glad.
Yoga with me. I go.
Let's go.
It's
you gotta tell me one time.
Yoga. I just got back into my yoga practice like the beginning of November, and I try to go at least like twice a week. And yoga is a lifestyle. Like, it's not just stretching. And one thing they say in yoga is if you do it on the mat, you do it in your life. And one thing that I have learned from yoga, well, maybe yoga reinforced it. Like, I struggle with the postures that requires you to like let go completely. I struggle with those type of postures. Balanced postures, I struggle with those type of postures. Because those are the things that I struggle with in my everyday life.
God, that is powerful. Wow. Yeah, you know what? I'm not looking deep enough, it seems. Because for me, I just struggle staying on my feet. Like I don't wanna fall over or like hurt myself. So sometimes I'll be thinking like, damn, I really gotta think about how that's showing up then in my life. Like why am I being resistant to failing?
Yes.
Oh, child, why am I reading myself? Let me move on. Let me move on. Because this is not even supposed to be about me. You know what? I'm not bringing Akiva back no more. She's literally just triggering everything right now. This is crazy.
That's what happens when you have a conversation with therapists.
Yes. Yes, it is. And I have my therapist hat half on, half off. We are supposed to be in a letdown space, but goodness, like I'm getting a lot of the therapy energy. And the crazy part about it is she's not even trying. She's talking regular. The universe is universe, and let me listen to myself. Yes, okay. Yes, but that says a lot. I think yoga is extremely powerful. So definitely a tool that I want to continue to use. Let me know when, where, I'm there for it, So yeah, so we'll get that on the calendar. So to kind of just retouch back on, Wes, what you were talking about and going to see a holistic doctor and that experience for you, with our work with Black Men Heal. Shout out to Black Men Heal, nonprofit organization that provides free therapy to men of color. So if you are a man of color or know a man of color, or a male a person that identifies as a man or male, please let them know about Black Men Heal. You can apply at blackmenheal.org. This is not a sponsorship or anything like that. I'm not doing that. However, the goal is resources. And so I'm providing a resource here, for any person that identifies as a male. If you think that therapy is beneficial for you, this is definitely a great, amazing program to apply to in order to be paired with a person of color, a clinician of color. So when talking, about men's health, why do you think, or at least nowadays, because I know, it's a layered, this is like a taboo, it's a layered question as to why men of color are resistant to physical treatment, going to the doctors, getting checked up, getting physicals, getting, all of the tests that they need to get with their prostate and all of these things. Why do you think today, at least, especially with as much information as we have now, the accessibility of the internet, men are still kind of tugging at not having to, it not being important enough to go to the doctor?
I mean, without getting too deep, I think it's just look at who we are as people. We're just not in alignment with who we are. Right. So if you go back to how things were in Africa, you didn't go see a doctor the same way we see a doctor here. They don't test you and do all types of unnecessary things, right, that we do here because here it's financial. Right. There it's about really improving your health and doing different things. And it was more community stuff. Right. So when you go to a doctor here, and I'll give you an example. Last month I went to go see a medical doctor, right, to go get a physical. And it was a scam, right? And this was a doctor in the Northeast, a DO. The medical assistant comes in, checks my weight, blood pressure, all that type of stuff. The doctor comes in, the doctor looks at me and goes, well, you look pretty healthy. It's not really much for me to do. Breathe in and out, breathe in and out. All I could do, is, if you got something going on with you, then we can come back and work on it. I said, well, damn, can I at least get a script for some blood work?
Right.
I said, because that's the reason I'm here, is because I want some blood work.
Exactly.
So this is a doctor that I made an appointment for a physical, and he didn't test anything, right? Then I look at the printout, because, everything's electronic records. I look, and I'm looking at all the stuff that he said he did that he did not do.
Oh, shit.
So even when we go to get help, right, they don't really help you if you don't know what you're asking for, what your intention is for this appointment.
Yeah.
So it was like, I really only wanted to go to get the blood work because the holistic doctor couldn't write for the blood work because he's not covered under insurance.
Right.
Even though that's the doctor that was more beneficial, but insurance won't pay for that. So the system is not really set up for our lifestyle. So like if we were in another country outside of America, right? Anything's wrong with you, whatever holistic or neighborhood doctor you go to, They're going to go back behind their yards, whatever herbs, plants, everything else. They're going to give you some recipes, some remedies, and you're good. They're going to tell you eat this and this for the next 7, 10, 21 days, and it's going to reduce or improve whatever's going on for you. You know, here it's different. The pharmaceutical business is a $1 billion business.
Yeah.
So it's not really about eradicating anything or eliminating any diseases or illnesses. It's about maintenance, right? It's about keeping you alive long enough so that we can continue to make money.
Yeah.
Right? So, but historically for us as people of color, it's about eradicating disease and sickness and improving health and making your life longer and healthier. Wow. So this system is not for us. It's the total opposite of our own genetic nature.
For sure.
So if you look at that, you look at any other type of studies, whether you look at the syphilis studies or you look at other things of how we were intentionally manipulated or used as guinea pigs, it just doesn't jive with us, right? Then if you look at the whole, men are supposed to get their prostate exam, right? You tell a man of color, in order to get your prostate exam, you gotta bend over and drop your pants, and I'm gonna take a glove with some lube and stick my fingers in your butt. That's already taking the conversation somewhere way different, right? Even though, you know, you need to check the prostate to make sure it's not swollen, but that whole process is
process and presentation. Like, you gotta have a bedside manner for that, and talk about being multiculturally competent,
right?
You know,
and that brings back like any type of information or intergenerational trauma related to like slavery, right? You know, where you're being sexually assaulted and abused, but that's the test. So it's a lot of different layers to it why we don't get help. And then the other part is we lie, right? We sit around with our friends, we act like we healthy and we not, and your friends co-sign you eating bullshit and drinking bullshit, and then nobody's really holding anybody accountable to live their life a little bit better. Because we sit around and bullshit, we playing cards, we in the barbershop, we drinking, it's all bullshit. So like, you gotta find people who gonna be honest with you. Like, I got a friend now, heart problems, diabetes. I was like, yo, when you at work, are you taking walks around the building? Nah, whatever. Like, dude, you need to get off your ass and go fucking walk. Right? Like, I don't want to have to go to your funeral. Go handle your business. So every time I see him, or we go out to eat or whatever, he go to order something, I'm like, nah, you can't do that. And he was like, what are you trying? I said, I ain't your dad and nothing like that, but if we hanging out, I can't sit by and watch you eat stuff that I know your doctor is telling you don't eat. Right? So if you want to do that with other people, cool, but if we gonna hang out, I can't do it. So it's like just holding each other accountable. To me, like, if we look at like traditionally, like, and I hate to keep coming back to Africa stuff, but that's my lifestyle. Things were done in public so that your family, your community will hold you accountable. So if you had a conflict with somebody, or if you had to make certain changes, it was done in public. So that when somebody sees you, they can say, hey, you know you're not supposed to be doing that. Right? Like the same way some of us grew up, right? If you did something in the neighborhood, the old elders in neighborhoods would tell you stop, you know, or I'm gonna tell your parents, and by the time you got to your house, your parents knew what you did that you weren't supposed to be doing. Unfortunately, our communities are broken. We don't have the same way, but it's just like traditionally, that's how we lived our lives. So it's like, to me, we got to get back to that, right? Because our communities are falling apart. So it's that type of stuff. And then when we have doctors who look like us, right? We have information that makes sense. We have healthy food that's not all these chemicals and all types of other stuff. You know, like when I went to the holistic doctor, he told me something that I knew about, but I wasn't really thinking about. A lot of the fruits and stuff now, they're taking the seeds out of it, right? And they're taking the seeds out of it because a lot of people feel like, oh, that's easier for me. I don't have to worry about the seeds when I'm cooking my food. They're taking the seeds out of it, so you're dependent on them to grow this. The seeds allow you to be able to reproduce it yourself. If you don't have the seeds, you can never reproduce it yourself, which means you always have to buy it from somebody else. People don't care about the genetic modified stuff. They care about quick and easy.
Wow.
You know, like this genetically modified animals now that people are eating and don't even know they're genetically modified. So it's like the whole system is messed up.
Heavy on the system. Because it is a systematic issue. I think nutrition, you know, we see a lot of, you know, urban farmers now. The farming community is growing. Shout out to Farmer John, Krista Barfield, you know, who's doing amazing things when it comes to, you know, food insecurity and providing food for communities, but particularly communities of color, in communities that healthy stores or markets are not going into. Food is, what do we do without food? Nutrition, regardless of what your type of diet is, whether you're vegan, whether you're vegetarian, whether you're just plant-based, whether you're on a Moroccan diet, it doesn't even matter. At the end of the day, you still need fuel for your body. You can't not consume water or fluid. You can't not consume any type of foods at all. And so, it's just interesting how the system at this point is tailored to where, I don't know at what point this episode is coming out. However, at some point y'all might have heard that, I had, gastric surgery. I had VSG, which is vertical sleeve gastrectomy. And, with having that surgery, I do have to be way more cognizant of my diet at this point. The diet itself is like high protein, low carb, no sugar, which kind of reminds you of keto, which I love a keto diet. I've been the most successful actually way prior before my surgery on a keto based diet. And, when going to the market nowadays, I often leave with a few items in my bag, 5-6 items, but I done spent almost $100.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're talking fruits, we're talking vegetables, lettuce, cabbage, maybe a couple lean cuisines for quick, and I'm just like, like, I'm trying to eat healthy. However, y'all killing me here. It's so much cheaper to eat the garbage, to consume the garbage. And granted, I think your holistic doctor was on point when he said, slow but steady. It's those minor changes. The alkaline diet, amazing diet. What I did, started drinking alkaline water. That's my start, at least. Do I drink alkaline water all the time? No, but you will never now come into my house and there's not a gallon of alkaline water. And when I drink that, I go to the market, I get another gallon. Because it's like, okay, that's where I'm gonna start. Consuming the water, making those small changes, the fact that you're even going, I think is amazing, and just seeking out that support. System issue. The fact that the holistic doctor cannot build insurance, I think is absolutely ridiculous. Because as this is America and we're supposed to be the land of choice, you choose your healthcare provider. However, you can't choose how you pay. The choice is given to you.
Absolutely.
Out of pocket.
Absolutely.
Or go to a MD or DO who bills insurance.
It's the same way as if like you decide that you want herbs instead of pills. That's not covered under your prescription plan.
And then the system, even if you do have a medical doctor that accepts insurance, the insurance company even controls what procedures you can get.
How about that?
Or you got to go through the steps
exactly
in order for them to willing to be paid
right.
for what you already need.
For what you
but you still got to go through the
need.
Steps.
Seriously, like that's a good point. Like it's a system within a system within a system, and it's just what that says to me: red tape. Bullshit, but politics.
Yeah, but it wasn't always like that though. That didn't start till the 90s with managed care, right? So before the 90s, when there was no managed care, you could do whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah.
You can go to whatever doctor. The doctors would choose what you needed, and it was their decision. Insurance just paid for it. But the purpose of managed care is to spend as little money as possible,
Yeah.
right? So you might need this, but their job is let's try this instead.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will solve the problem for cheaper.
Yeah.
So that's the purpose of managed care.
That's
Managed care isn't your friend or to help you. It's the insurance company's way to save money.
Absolutely. Save money and then still give you a bill for insurance that you're paying into.
Exactly.
That's the crazy part.
Exactly, because you're paying for it.
You're paying for it. And to be honest, if we really, really want to sit down with this bill idea, for the years that most people pay into insurance plans, you don't even use that shit. You don't use a dime. You're paying into it for other people who require, that's, as much as for financial dimension, I am pro life insurance policy. However, that's sometimes how these types of policies work. Health insurance policies, insurance, it is what it is. We do need them. We need insurance. Like we have to, like that's the culture of the United States. In some other, cultures as well, societies have an insurance system. So, we kind of got to fall in line. However, us falling in line and saying, okay, this is what we need, this is the necessity, doesn't make it less frustrating. And doesn't make it less, like, there's a lack of accessibility, when it comes to certain treatments and things. And so, hopefully, of course, with us continuing this conversation in general, and, I feel like it's very important, as therapists, we have, a role in a personal responsibility to lead by example. And I think it's important, that when they hear Wes, Harris the third, Wesley G. Harris the third, has, a man of color who identifies as a man of color who has gone to a holistic doctor, has gone to a medical doctor, and, takes care of his health and is a therapist, right? Just demonstrates, Wes went, like, okay, Akiva went to the doctor, like, okay, I could do this, yes, like, we're still human though, like, we gotta go to the doctor, we get sick, but I think saying it out loud sometimes, like, make it real, like, it's okay to go get checked out, regardless of what you choose, where you choose to go, get checked out.
I don't know if all therapists do it, but I do it with all my clients, right? Anybody who come in for their intake, I want to know when's the last time you had a physical.
Yes.
When did you have your blood work? Because different things, I don't know, it's not supposed to be therapy, but different things mimic.
Yes.
So a medical problem might mimic an emotional problem.
Absolutely.
Right? Or a mental problem. So we need to figure out what is it.
Absolutely.
So it's like I always ask people, when have you been? Oh, you haven't been yet? Okay. You need to go within the next 30 days.
That's right.
Otherwise we need to pause this treatment.
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, when Akiva was talking earlier about, anxiety manifesting for you in a somatic way, that you feel it in your body. Somatic meaning feel it in the body. It's like, when we're doing, when I do mental health first aid and I train people in mental health first aid, one of the things we talk about, with panic disorder and anxiety in general, there's this diagram, of a picture called Shaky Man. And it really shows you everything that Shaky Man is going through that looks sometimes like a heart attack or looks like a stroke. And it's like, no, but it's anxiety, the sweat, the tremors, the heart palpitations. Like, you do have to be in tune and aware of where you feel your stress. So, because the goal is to rule out medical. It's like, okay, when you have had panic attacks or, really high extreme type of, anxiety symptoms, and you go to the doctor because you're thinking something else, usually when they're very thorough and they're like, nothing physically is wrong, they usually refer you to mental health treatment because that's really probably what's going on. We feel stress in our body first. Before we even know it's stress, our body experiences it. Before we feel it emotionally, before we feel it mentally, our body has already told us. It's that ache, it's that headache, it's that feet hurting, it's that tension in the shoulders that you just think is regular because you've been on your feet all day. No. When talking about that chakra, process, our feet hold so much. Our gut, our stomach, it's a whole science, a spiritual science to it. And like, we really have to, just be open to learning as people of color, sometimes new things, new concepts. Mind you, none of this is new. Right. When you talk about Africa and our descendants, like, this is not new. Holistic medicine is not new. Plants over pills is not new. But unfortunately, it's new now because it's like we're introducing it, trying to reintroduce it to a new population, a new generation, and so it's kind of like starting over, which is not always a bad thing, but we have to continue to educate and be open to the education, be open to sharing the information, right? It's not enough to say knowledge is power without then giving it to somebody. What's the point of getting knowledge if you're not going to share the information? So I think that that's really important. So both of you are therapists. We are all therapists. What led you to this role here? Did you wake up one day and was like, I want to be a therapist? Because I have yet to find a person who said, as a child, I'm I'm gonna grow up to be a therapist. I've never heard anybody say that to me before.
Okay, well, I'll be the first to say it.
Yes, here we go. First on Lotus Living. Go.
So back then, I didn't know what it was to be a therapist. I used to say a psychiatrist.
Okay.
Back then, not knowing. Some people even still today don't know the difference between
It's a whole nother conversation.
therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist. And my sister used to always, we was kids. I remember being like 10, 12. My sister used to be like, you should be a psychiatrist. You should be a psychiatrist. And kind of just like you said a moment ago, I'm not even trying to therapize you. It's just naturally, because that's just naturally who I am. Like, I know now that this is what I was supposed to do. So when I was a kid, I did used to say, I wanted to be a psychiatrist. I want to be a psychiatrist. Then getting older, realizing how long I'm going to be in school for. Back then I'm like, I ain't trying to be in school forever. But I always knew I wanted to be some type of a helping field, like giving service in some type of way, because that's just who I am. Life happens, like I end up in corporate America. But in 2010, I was working at a mortgage company, and they were like doing all this. They was on this mass, outsourcing everything to India. So they was like laying a lot of people off because they was, outsourcing everything to India. I couldn't stand my damn supervisor at the time. So they, my job announced a voluntary layoff, to take the pressure off of them, so they didn't have to pick. If you don't want to work here no more, we're going to cut you this check. Yeah. You could go. Right. So I'm like, sign me up. Yeah, right. I hated that job. I couldn't stand my damn manager at the time. So this was October 2010. This was around the time when the economy was doing bad and everything was going bad. It took me forever to find a job. No lie, it took me a year and a half to find a job. And I like being in corporate America, but me, myself, being an overachiever, I had to be a management position or something like that in order for me to be happy with it. So during the time when I was laid off, I'm self-teaching myself how to use Excel, all these spreadsheets, preparing myself, because my next role gonna be it. My next job gonna be my career. I'm gonna be this professional businesswoman. My next job. So it took me a year and a half to find a job. When I finally found a job, I had this nice little fancy title. My title was fancy. But when I tell you that job was the worst, the computer literally did the job. I literally would push a button and sit there and watch the Excel spreadsheets and macros do everything. And because it was an investment job, so what I did was connected to the stock market. So I only could work every 4 hours or so once the stock market put out the interest rates and all that stuff. And I was literally twiddling my fucking thumb. Literally. Because it was nothing for me to do. And, most people were like, well, you getting paid to do nothing. That's not me. I don't want to be sitting here all day bored. Right. Literally probably only working 2 hours out of the 8 hours that I'm here. Right. And, at that time, I had my undergraduate degree. My undergraduate degree is in business management. And I did always have a desire to go back to school. Of course, at that time, it would have been to get my MBA. So when I started working at that job, they did have a really good tuition reimbursement program. Okay. So I'm like, well, maybe I should stay here and just use their tuition reimbursement program and go get my MBA. But you know how tuition reimbursement works. You have to go to school for something that's related to the job. And because I was hating the job so much, I'm like, do I really want to go back to school to get a damn MBA and be stuck doing this for the rest of my life knowing that I really don't want it? Because when I tell y'all, I did not sleep for 2 months straight, and it's no exaggeration. I sleep like a baby typically. The only time I don't sleep is when my spirit is not right. But no exaggeration, I'm taking everything you could take. Benadryl, everything. Still not that sleepy time tea, everything. Just not sleeping 2 months. Because at that point, I really was weighing heavily. All right. All right, okay, I can go back to school. I can use the tuition reimbursement. But do I really want to go to get another degree in business knowing that this is not what I want to do? So I'm I really want to be a therapist. At that time, I knew. I'm I really want to be a therapist. So I'm all right, if I'm going to go back to school, I'm going to go back to school to be a therapist. And that's how it happened.
Yes, and here we are.
Beyond limits.
Yes. Okay.
That's crazy. I wanted to be a psychiatrist too, but for a different reason. My dad was a Vietnam vet, so he used to tell me stories about how he used to go to the VA, and they treated him like shit. So in my young mind, as an early teen, it was like, if I become a psychiatrist, then I could fix him. So that was the goal. I wanted to be a psychiatrist because I knew he needed help. And I didn't know anything about therapy. Like, I knew we had a counselor at school, but they didn't do therapy. So like, I didn't know what the options were. But then when I got to college for my undergrad, when I found out what a psychiatrist was, I was like, fuck that, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Like it was too much school.
Exactly.
It sounded boring. And then I didn't want to be in charge of medication.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you got to prescribe meds that can either help somebody or jack them up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm good on that. One of my friends in undergrad was like part of like, I went to a Irish Catholic school for college, and he was part of like that Christian ministry. And he was like, hey, come to this community project with me. And I went to school in New York. It was called the Midnight Run. And we go down to Central Park, we give out food and clothing to homeless people. And after doing that a couple of times and meet with people in Central Park, and you talk about MBAs, we met this guy in this box. He had his MBA in the box with him. So at the homeless guy. Wow. He worked on Wall Street. He had his MBA, but like the pressure caused him to crack. And like he just never recovered. So after that, like I realized I like talking to people, right? And helping people like more grassroots on the ground than being in the office and prescribing medication. So I knew I wanted to do something like that. That led to case management. And I did that for a long time. But then when you're a case manager, you do a lot of stuff that you shouldn't be doing because nobody else is going to do it.
Yep.
So I realized after a while being a case manager, like this is a dead end, and I really wanted to do more, and that led to me going back to school to get my graduate degree. But psychiatrist was the original goal.
Now you got your first two.
Yes. Well, that wasn't me. I, as a child, I was raised by my grandparents predominantly. My mom was, a single parent. So when she got pregnant with me, she was in undergrad. And so I guess to mitigate things for my mom, and there's a whole storyline behind, her being a middle child and, having to raise herself at times, what she would describe, and my grandma feeling guilty. And so it's like, oh, you pregnant, I'm gonna raise your daughter so you can go ahead and, live your life. Whole nother segment, child. I'm not reading my life for you. However, I was literally like a daughter to my grandparents. They raised me. I lived in a house with them until I was 17 years old. And so I sometimes come off with having like an old spirit. And so I used to watch, Westerns and, different shows with my grandparents, like, Murder, She Wrote. And my favorite was Matlock. And the moment Matlock came into my life, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. And so that is literally from the time I guess I could talk and say Matlock and lawyer, that's always what I was going to be. And that was the goal. And so I went through school, got to high school, graduated, went to undergrad, and majored in psychology because I figured that was the best thing to do in order to understand people's behaviors if I was going to be a criminal attorney, because that's what I was going to do at the time. I needed to understand the motivation for people's behavior, so it made sense. Graduated, and then life lifed. And, on another segment of episode of the show, I'll share my story about how my cousin left me with her child, and I ended up having to raise him. And of course that put my law school career on hold. I did still attempt to go, but I'm not a good standardized test taker. I took the LSAT quite a few times, just wasn't able to yield the scores that I needed to get into the law schools I had applied to. So I did try, but then, things happen. So simultaneously, all this is going on. Now I'm raising a child, and one of my first jobs, psych type jobs, was at Girard Medical Center. And
the Carter.
Listen, the Carter of all psychiatric facilities, at least here in Philly. Okay.
It's on 8th Street, right?
We used to call that the Carter.
Okay, 8th and Girard. there's this running joke to some of the friends that I still have from Gerard Medical Center. We used to text each other back and forth code 777 because we knew if you heard code 777 across the speaker, everybody need to go running because somebody is wilding out, right? Code 777. Shout out to my friend Samara who used to work there. So anyway, so that was one of my first jobs. And then, I had a number of other jobs, but then landed at Belmont Hospital in the adolescent unit. Let me tell y'all, for those who are listening, who are in school right now to be a counselor, it is important to know not only what you want to do, but what you do not want to do. I do not want to work in adolescent psych. And that is where I found that this was just not the place for me. However, a coworker of mine was at Holy Family University at the time. It was like, I really got to find something else to do because this bachelor's degree is not doing it for me. I don't know what I want to do. I can't go to law school right now. She was like, oh, I'm at Holy Family. What's your GPA? Because if you got a high GPA, you don't have to take the GRE. And I was like, oh, yeah, because I don't want to take the LSAT again, so let me find out. So I looked into the program, I applied, interviewed, got in.
Wow.
So that's how I ended up getting a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. However, simultaneously, I got a job in the mental health unit at the public defender's office, which is where I went met Wes. And I was like, of course my vision was to still go to law school, and but because of my experience at the time, I wasn't sure, what I want to practice if I ever go, what do I want to do? And it was that experience, because who knew mental health law was a thing? Nobody talked about mental health law. And to be immersed in a system where I was one of the people who was coming in with a psychology background, where all the lawyers that were there were lawyers first, trying to figure the psych thing out. And I was like, oh, y'all don't know. You can't punish him for not taking his medication if he's been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. That's a part of his disease. He's going to stop taking the medication. That's just what it's going to be. And it's oh, but y'all want to put him in jail for that? What he do?
Listen, shout out to Judge Wood Skipper.
Judge Wood Skipper. Shout out to Judge Sheila Wood Skipper. One of the best president judge of, the Court of Common Pleas. Did amazing work for the criminal justice system when it came to mental health court.
Treating people with dignity.
Yes, absolutely. Shout out to you. So, I ended up going to law school. However, not really doing shit with this law degree. I'm having conversations with folks, However, a therapist was born. This wasn't necessarily my go-to, but I think it's important to kind of, start to talk about your story because not everybody's path is the same. Certain things happen and, it's okay for you to traverse a different path. You can even still come back to your ultimate destination if being a psychiatrist was something you still wanted to consider. Nobody is saying that you can't.
Listen,
you went a different way.
It's crazy to see how people wind up being a therapist and the different paths that people go to, law degree, working on, towards an MBA. It's crazy. And even psychiatrists, when I worked at Consortium, we had a psychiatrist that when he got done being a psychiatrist, he said, I want to be like you guys. We'll go do therapy. He said because he was tired of being a psychiatrist. Right. So he wanted to go to therapy. It's just crazy the different paths that you can go to and wind up here.
Yes. You couldn't pay me to go to school. If somebody literally was like, Akiva,
I'm telling you,
I will pay for your whole PhD program. I'm like, nope.
I'm done. I'm done. And I know, for people who know me, and it's just I'm just a person who was always doing something, always in something, always working. When it comes to education, if it's not a credential I could pay for, a certificate, a short self-study type of thing, to go to college again, oh yeah, I'm done. When I say I'm overburnt out, which is a good segue to the next question. When I say I'm overburnt out with school, now I'm not going to say you can't pay me to go. Now, if you pay me to go, we got to talk about how much. I'm not going to turn down a check. I'll go ahead and take a check and, I'll go. However, if you're not paying me. Oh yeah, I'm not going just for the sake of it. I could, fill myself up intellectually in other ways. We got trainings and stuff that we supposed to be doing anyway. Every 2 years, we supposed to be getting 30 CEUs. Just so y'all know, LPCs out there listening, if you didn't know, we're not really supposed to wait the day before our license expire. Who am I talking to? I'm talking to me. 2 years the board give us. Why is it that we wait? Let me talk about myself. Maybe y'all don't wait. I wait the day before. And I'm going to put y'all a little nugget. There's a website out there, just in case y'all don't know, that you could go on, child. You can get all your credits in a few minutes. If the ACA is listening, this is just something that I heard. This is just something
I just heard about it. It wasn't me.
I heard about it. This is what I was told. I would never do anything like that.
I encourage everybody to do yours a little bit at a time.
Yes.
Every 3 to 6 months.
Yes.
If you can bang it out the first year, second year, you just touch up whatever else you need.
Yes.
Or if you do like an intensive where you can do like a workshop or a 4-day training, you get all your credits.
Yes.
Go somewhere for a week.
Yes. Now that's the part. The workshops, the trainings, the conferences. A lot of times those have so many CEUs attached to them. You could probably knock that out a couple classes and you're good.
Especially if your job has a training budget.
Yes.
Use all that money.
Yes, please. Use it all. Don't be like me. I don't want you to be like me. I digress. So, one of the things as a therapist that I realized that, and I feel like I can speak for the both of you because I think we've all been in this boat. As a helping professional, we are like tapped sometimes at the max for, helping literally, with clients, with trying to, provide a need that if there was enough of us, it still wouldn't be enough of us for the work literally that people require, that we require. I think sometimes people forget that therapists are people, right?
I literally say that to my clients. I'm like, I'm a real person.
A real person. With your own shit, your own issues, your own problems, shit you working out with your own therapist, right? You get tired, you get sleepy, you eat, you hungry, you have emotions, you experience trauma. You're not absolved from anything that they're showing up in the room with. And I think that needs to be understood. I think anybody in any type of industry or occupation, you have to remember that there are still people with a role. The only thing that makes us different than our clients, we went to school. We got a degree. And sometimes our clients went to school and had a degree too. As I sit in front of a therapist who's my therapist, But however, having that role doesn't absolve us of just being human. However, the work we do can be heavy. What do you do to take care of yourself as a therapist?
I think first and foremost, I learned over the last probably 2 years, boundaries are important. And it's okay to tell people no. And I think a lot of times as a therapist, we feel like we got to be there to help people. And I'm not willing to help people at my own detriment anymore. Right? Like I had a friend call me the other day. She's like, I want to call her. Like, she called me at 8 o'clock. I want to run something by you. I was like, tomorrow. She's like, are you setting boundaries? I was like, hell yeah. Like, it's already 8 o'clock. Like, I'm done having those type of conversations right now. Right? I'll talk to you tomorrow. And I think that that's important for us because a lot of times therapists, or I tell my female clients, mothers have a hard time saying no. Because you feel like if you don't do for somebody, it takes away from them. Or it makes you less than. Nah, it's okay. It's okay to say no. And my family and friends know now it is what it is. I'm going to tell you no. You're going to be happy about it. You're going to be upset about it. You're going to figure it out. It's not my problem. Right? We can get back to it tomorrow. But if I'm done today, I'm done today. So that's the main thing that I've been doing. In terms of that. But then also like I got back. We talk a lot about reconnecting to like your old self or your childhood. So I've been getting back to something like I really enjoy, music and sports. So like I will watch sports all day and people mad at me and they want to interrupt and you trying to talk to me when the game is on, then you getting half my attention.
Yeah.
Right? If that. Or I got you on speaker and I'm not even really listening. Mm-hmm. So like that's main things that really made me smile and made me enjoy life. So like I'm getting back to that. Like sports, going to games, going to concerts, like that type of stuff. Like going back to live my life. Like I was telling a client the other day, one of my favorite artists of all time is Buju Banton. Right? I'm mad that he can never come back to America. So like I have to travel to the Caribbean or somewhere else to see him. But like I'm going to get that done. Because there's other people that I said, oh, I want to wait and see. Sade, Prince, didn't happen. And now they're not on tour. Right? So now it's like I'm not going to miss those opportunities waiting because it may never happen.
Oh my God. That is powerful. Whew. That kind of hurt me a little bit because it's like, I'm telling you, you can't wait. I'm trying to get there. Me and No have a fickle relationship. I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out with No.
Center for that one.
Yeah. one. I know.
But I think that socially, it's more acceptable for men to say it than women to say it.
Yeah.
And that's a social construct that we got to break down.
Yeah.
And I think for women, it comes, I won't say more easily, but I think we get better at it the older we get. And as you said, like with your old spirit, like sometimes I forget how young that you actually are. I'm like 10 years older than you.
Y'all hear that, right? I'm young.
And I be thinking about that, and I was like, "Ooh, sure, I need to learn." I was like, "No," but I'm like, she really is still kind of young. Like, she probably ain't get to that age yet, where it's going to be a little bit easier for her to say no.
I think that people can identify that, like that I don't say no, and like tap into. I'm a very loyal person too, and so when trying to balance my loyalty, I can be loyal to you and still set a boundary. Like I'm still learning that, and just saying, I don't have the capacity for X, Y, Z, or I can do it when you said, 8 o'clock, like, if this is not a life or death situation, setting that boundary that I'll get to you tomorrow is, I think, key. And, that's something I'm growing into. But, definitely for the things you enjoy. I mean, to say a person like Prince, not being able to see him in concert and knowing that you'll never now be able to see him in concert, rest in peace to the artist. It's like, damn, you ain't had that chance. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, of course, nobody could have foreseen that was going to be the case. Right. But I think that speaks, at least to me too, like, I ain't waiting on fucking night no more. Like, as much as sometimes I fear traveling by myself, especially like, okay, I could go state to state, but going to tropical places, like I like being on a beach, I like traveling, I like getting on a plane. Sometimes I'll be resistant because I want a partner, like I want someone with me, but it's like, so you want to wait for somebody to go to this restaurant or go to this country or go to this beach or go to this movie because you don't want to be by yourself? Like, what if you don't have the chance to do it? And I think, like, we can't control everything. Nobody could control the artist passing away. No. And it's like, I don't want to be in that situation where I just didn't get a chance. I had the chance. But for the sake of what? I waited? No. And so that resonates with me deeply. I'm getting there. Yeah,
but there's a lot of like black and brown travel groups. The singles go and they travel together because people don't want to travel themselves, but they want to experience life.
They want to experience life.
And I think that's something, to me, it's a challenge to travel by yourself. I ain't there. I ain't there. I'm the same way. There's a lot of places that I want to go. And I was looking at something the other day and I was like, ooh, all inclusive 5 days. I got all the way to the cart. And I was like, nah, I can't do it.
But how about that's a step in the right direction?
It is a step. It's a step.
Right? That's a step in the right direction because the next time you might just go ahead and hit submit and put your card information in. Fuck it. Look, now it's like, shit, I shouldn't have did that, but it's booked now. So what you gonna do? So you can sell the trip to me if you like. I'll buy it because I'm a go. Right. I ain't gonna let no trip go to waste. I'll go. But I think that's really important. What about you, Akiva?
As far as self-care when it comes to my work specifically, and I had to learn this the hard way, is schedule. Because when I first started my practice, I was scheduling people at 10 o'clock in the morning all the way up until like 8 o'clock at night.
Yes,
No
that was me.
exaggeration.
That was me.
And then I'm like, shit, I didn't do this right. I need to figure out my schedule because it's too much.
That was me. I feel you.
But even now, and it's like, because again, we do this work for a reason. Like, we have these bleeding hearts, and like, I have a client, you know, call with emergency and trying to get in, and if I'm booked, I'm like booked, but then I'll be like, well, maybe I can fit them in here, or and then I'm like, oh, but if I do that, then I'm not going to be able to do this. And so learning with the boundary, learning to stick to that boundary.
Stick to it.
Because like right now, since I'm getting back into my yoga practice, and I am trying to be more intentional about my wellness practices, and yoga is one of them. It's very important. Like, I do yoga in the morning. I was talking to a client the other day, was trying to schedule me at a time I do yoga. I can't.
You booked, yeah.
Because
how about that?
I'm not saying no to my yoga to say yes to you.
Yes. Not when that's what you do to take care of
Right.
yourself.
Yeah.
In order to make an appointment
Right.
with them.
Yeah. So maintaining my schedule and being strict with myself of not scheduling people outside of times, because I have like a set schedule. I see clients from this time to this time, and if I'm booked, we just gonna have to wait until we get another opening for me to get you in. So my schedule and my boundaries with that schedule for like my work is like one of the main things that I do for my self-care.
I think that's hard for a lot of people when they start private practice.
Yeah.
Because everybody's scared of if I'm not more flexible, then I won't make enough money
Exactly.
to survive. Right? But the reality of it is, whatever you set your schedule, people will find a way to fit into your schedule. But we tell ourselves at the beginning, oh my gosh, oh no, they want 9 o'clock. Let me be available at 9. Like I told y'all that one guy that wanted Friday at 9 o'clock. And
I would did that for the money he was trying to pay.
Nah,
You remember he said the guy was trying to pay him $500?
Oh yeah, I would have took that too.
I'm good.
And I would have been like, you might need to be seen twice a week. You might need to be seen twice a week for the next 30 days. Because that right there pay one of these credit card bills down. I'm just saying, I'm not like that for real. But I am.
No, but that's how I was when I was like thinking, oh, I gotta fill up, I gotta get these clients, I gotta take everybody
that's how I was
in.
too. Yeah, especially with like transitioning from the workforce into private practice full time. I went in full time, you know, and yeah, I had that 40, 50 caseload and was booking from 9 to 10, you know, PM. And it's just like, yeah, not giving myself a lunch. I realized I ain't go to the bathroom.
Yes.
I didn't do nothing. I used to be so excited when people would cancel or be like, I go to a show.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, damn, you know, but I think it's important. Like when you talk about your schedule, I think that, you know, that is something that I'm trying to learn to do as well. Live by my schedule. You know, we can put boundaries in place, but boundaries don't mean shit if we don't enforce them. Right? I was doing a shout out to the Quaker City Alumni Chapter, does a Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I did a presentation to one of their youth groups, their Delta Gems. And, you know, it's a empowerment mentorship group for young girls. And we were talking about the impact of social media has on young people. And, you know, I had mentioned that I give myself now time limits on social media. So if I've been on for a collective 2 hours on either, it's not in. So it's literally 2 hours for Facebook and Instagram, not 2 hours apiece. My phone will shut down. And one of the sorors there was like, you know, that's cool that you put that in place, but you really do got to be disciplined because you can always hit ignore time.
You sure can, yeah.
And then reopen yourself. And I'm like, girl, you're right. You know, I've been thinking about that. And so it's like, you know, that just shows like you're using the tools, but then you really got to implement the tools. You really got to execute. And, you know, I'm trying to find, especially with adjusting to the new lifestyle that I have in regards to my health, I got to work out. I got to take, even if it's taking my walks, like, you know, I could get caught up on work a lot. And before I know it, I ain't get up, I ain't stretch, I ain't stand, I ain't walk around the block. And I can't do that no more. I really actually have to move. And so just making that time in my schedule. And if that means that I'm not available until after 12 or, you know, after this 10 o'clock meeting at 11, I got to tap out for an hour in order to do this walk, this 30 minutes or whatever, I have to do it, you know, and I have to be a little bit more compliant with that, and I'm trying. One of the things that definitely has happened recently with work is that on Thursdays, my chief business development officer removed like 2-3 hours from my schedule just for me to find funding, because it was just like I don't have the time. I've been paying people to write grants and whatnot, and I'm talking about I just spent $800 for somebody to write 15 grants for me. Child, only got one of them. All the rest of them, 12 of them, were rejected. And of course, my financial team, like, sure, like, why didn't you do this shit yourself? And it's like, it's time. I can learn it. I can try to figure it out, but the time, you know. And she was like, well, you gotta make time. You know what? You're right. Block my calendar out on Tuesdays from 11 to 2. That'll be my time. And I have to enforce that, which means that if an appointment come up in between 11 and 2, I'm unavailable, right, because this was the time that I have set. And so I think that that's really important. Yeah. So therapists do need to take care of themselves, and we find those ways, getting back to those joys of living, what brings you joy and happiness, and creating that balance. This has been an amazing conversation. We're going to segue into one of our final segments called Mindful Moment, where I like to, ask you a question to kind of tap into, a deep awareness. I'm a group therapist by heart. I love group therapy more than I like individual therapy. No shade to the individual therapists. But
it's powerful.
Group therapy is amazing. I mean, the cohesion and community. Oh my God, I love it. But I use a lot of group therapy tools, and so I have like prompt cards and all of that. So I have this deck from Best Self, and so sometimes I pick different prompts and cards from there. This is no, I like Best Self, but they're not paying me for this. I mean, you can pay me if you want. However, I have a question for the both of you. So Wes, I'm gonna start with you. Is violence ever acceptable?
Yes. Okay. But it depends on the circumstances.
Okay.
Right? So, like, if we look at Gaza, and just to put that out there, because that's something that's going on now. Mm-hmm. Colonization has been around for a long time. And when people are taking your home and putting your life in jeopardy, sometimes, like Malcolm said, by any means necessary to make change, right? So a lot of times in crisis situations, violence is necessary to move through crisis. But to me, it has to reach that level, right? We have to explore other options before we get to that. But it absolutely is acceptable depending on the circumstances. Right? Or I'm in my house, minding my business. You come into my house to rob me. First thing I want to ask you is, hey, buddy, just leave, right? I don't want that smoke.
Oh, you talking to him?
Yeah, I'm talking to him. I ain't talking. So I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna talk to him, right? I practice African traditional spirituality. So my steps are like these. When you come to the top of my steps, you're gonna see a bunch of machetes and stuff. So when you see that, it's like, buddy, you don't want this smoke. Just go back down the steps, right? But if you insist to come in afterward, then you get what you get. Yeah. Right? Because I gave you an out. And you try to.
I gave you take it.
Because when I pray, I always pray for, like, I'm never looking for trouble from nobody. Yeah. Right? So I ask that my spiritual guys protect me, guide me. If somebody's insisting on bringing smoke this way, hey, y'all handle it. Right. However y'all choose to handle it. And if they choose to handle it that way, then that's what people get. But I'm not looking for trouble for nobody. I mind my business. Yeah. I'm not out in the streets looking for no trouble. Right. I go to work, I go home, I chill, I go home. Yeah. I don't argue with nobody, I don't fight with nobody. Yes. So if you insist on bringing smoke this way, and I'm a Libra, so we give you enough rope to hang yourself, but then when you hang yourself, you get what you get. So absolutely.
Yeah. That is such like a grown-up answer. Grown-up therapeutic answer. Because I'm going to tell y'all right now, run up in my crib. I have a license to carry. I'm a Second Amendment advocate. Y'all can take that how you like. This is Lotus living. This is how I live. I carry my weapon with me. And I have weapons in the home. Just in case you didn't know, we do have a defense workshop happening. If you are interested in gun ownership, and want more information. And it's all about how, the education around gun ownership. It is empowering, right? The guns don't just go off. It's the people who have the weapons. And I understand we need laws, we need regulations, we need all of these things in place, but they can all work in cohesion. However, I will assert my Second Amendment right to protect my family and to protect myself at any means necessary. And let me tell you something. Everybody else is. Now, who everybody else is, you define who they are. But they are. So we need to. Because, I'm not a conspiracy theorist by any means. I do not believe in conspiracy theories, but I do pay attention to energy. I have a very high sense of discernment. And I've been, as I grow older, have been tapping into that discernment. I do feel something in the air right now. I don't know if we're on the cusp of a civil war. I don't know. That's a drastic idea. I just feel like we need to prepare, whatever that might be. And I'm not just talking about in weapons, but as a community, just like you said earlier, we need to get back to that accountability, to being able to check in, to being able, we need to prepare, because before we know it, all we're going to have is each other.
But even on that level though, right? So not everybody can or should be carrying a weapon, right?
Yes.
So some people just not equipped for a lot of different reasons, right? But then there's plenty of other roles for people.
That's right.
Whether it's, you're a hunter, you're a farmer, whatever it is. Because if we did have a civil war and you didn't have access to stores, don't take other stuff, how you want to feed yourself?
That part.
Who's growing the animals? Who's slaughtering the animals, right? Who's growing the fruits and the vegetables? So there's plenty of roles for everybody. Wow. So that we should absolutely, and this is things we should be teaching kids in school.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Like how to do certain things so that if something happens, civil war, apocalypse, whatever it is, that you're able to recover and be able to live your life and not just perish because you couldn't take care of yourself.
Yes.
But those are basic needs.
That's a mouthful.
And the fact that those are even viable options.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Okay, Akiva.
Okay.
What big decision in your life felt scary at the time, but looking back was the best decision you could have made?
Probably a lot of them, but the first thing that came to my mind was starting my practice. So similarly to how you said you've never heard therapists say they intentionally wanted to be a therapist, I feel like it's a similar argument for starting your practice. I feel like it's not uncommon that most of us who have ventured into the private practice world because we were forced into it, which was my situation. Starting my own practice was a goal for me, but it was a long-term goal because they don't teach us this shit in school. So I'm thinking I had to save up all this money. So that was I'm going to get my life situated, settled, do some other things I wanted to do. Then once I get those things done, then I'll start saving up money. Then once I have enough money to live off of, it takes time to build your caseload. So I'm I'm going to have to save up all this money before I can start my practice. But one of the last jobs I had working for other people, first of all, we all started on community mental health because you ain't got no choice but to. So I started out in community mental health. Then I worked primarily in substance abuse treatment, and it's a shame, but they don't care about people getting better. They want to keep people sick. And I worked for one of the last, maybe my second to third last job, them motherfuckers was on the news. That's how fucked up they was. They made the news. Josh Shapiro brought them down when he was the district attorney.
Shout out to Governor Shapiro. Listen, I like you. You gonna be good.
Yeah, he shut down one of the places I went. He shut it down. And just so many negative experience after negative experience. Then the last one, I got fired over some stupid shit.
Yeah.
I'm not the type of person to get fired. They won't be firing me.
Right.
So at that point, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna have to
step out on faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, and it has certainly been the best thing.
Beyond limits.
Yes.
Yes. Well, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much. This was an amazing conversation. I hope that y'all come back.
Sure.
Because we can talk today.
We could.
Going back and forth, back and forth. At first, I was like, okay, well, what am I going to talk about? I know they tired of talking. This is what they do. And I wasn't really sure, but look at us.
I'm sitting here waiting for more questions. I'm like, what's
look at us. I gotta save some of it.
Listen,
we need more content for more episodes.
I'm all for coming back, but just make sure it's around the Eagles game.
What time? I'm not
tomorrow. We don't play today. We play tomorrow.
Oh, okay. All right.
In the future, if it's during football season.
Okay. All right. Got it.
We loved up today.
I'm glad today was a good day. Yes. Thank you. Well, I definitely appreciate both of your, just perspectives, and I think this was an amazing conversation, and hopefully everybody that is, will watch and is watching this episode will, just have a little bit more insight into a therapist's life and, just our journeys and, what we do to take care of ourselves, how we, approach a Lotus living type of life. But I appreciate that you both just salted enough to spend your day, with me, like coming out your way. It's dreary today, but you still came, and I appreciate that. So as a thank you, I have this.
Aww.
I have a gift for you.
Oh, thank you.
And I have a gift for you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
And just a thank you, just a token of, our appreciation for you, spending the time. So, Lotus living is an actual thing. And it means to transcend existence by intentionally creating and sustaining a well-balanced lifestyle, overcoming adversity, and contributing to the well-being of mankind while embracing the evolution of who you were meant to become. And, I think that our conversation today is very telling of, what Lotus living looks like. Not that Lotus living doesn't have one path, right? It has multiple paths that end up on the road. The universes. Nothing is by accident. We're here right now at this very second on purpose, and we might not understand it. Some things are just not meant for us to understand. However, we have to be in a place to kind of accept that. And I'm living in this moment right now, being able to do this and have conversations. And, I've really been enjoying it, and just like, tapping into the folks that I know, and at some point, folks that I don't know, to kind of just get what they want to share with the world. And I appreciate being able to do that. And I would hope that you would live your life in a Lotus way, and transcend all to just live the life that you really deserve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this has been Lotus Living with Shar. We out.